Hello, my darlings. Tomorrow is the winter solstice, and as we enter the darkest day of the year, I wanted to talk a little bit about practicing kindness. And I think it's something that we often take for granted. And kindness is very important, but I think sometimes we forget how important it is. We forget to be kind to one another and kind to ourselves. I've been seeing a lot of it lately. In spiritual communities, I've been seeing a lot of what I call spiritual snobbery, which is people who just think that they're better than everyone, or they know more than someone, or their spiritual practice is, better than someone else's, or whatever. And it just, it's snooty and rude, and I don't think that that's very spiritual. I don't think that you're focusing on being a better person. You're focusing on judging people. And I think that's a problem. I've been seeing that a lot. I see it in the gay community too. I see gay people judging each other, gay men judging each other. There's a lot of hatred and discrimination against bisexual people, bi erasure, and also lots of ignorance around towards transgender people. And it really bewilders me that we are a sexual minority, and yet we are treating each other like shit. We are treating other people in our community like shit. And why? I mean, by doing this, we're no better than, the homophobic straight people, I just don't understand why we become so consumed with, bitterness and hatred and just being mean. I don't think it's necessary. Um, But, I understand. I mean, I have problems with sometimes with being kind or remembering to be kind. Sometimes I let my anger get the best of me. Um, I've often said that my queer anger and my Sicilian anger is a deadly combination. Um, and I'm generally not an angry person, but it's there. And, once you spark that, it's there. And I become impatient and frustrated, and sometimes I let it get the best of me, and I forget to be compassionate, to be kind, um, because you never know what someone else is going through. You can only see things through your perspective. So why don't you be kind to someone? I mean, you might make their day better, uh, especially nowadays with the political climate and all the madness surrounding that. It just causes a lot of people anxiety. And even now, as we enter uh, winter, I mean, practically it is winter here already. It has been, um, and it's cold and it's snowy, and people are miserable. The holiday season causes a lot of people stress. It's a financial burden, and people have social obligations, and etc. And it's just everyone is struggling. We are all struggling in this life. So why don't we try to be compassionate and be kind to one another? Um, life is hard. Life is hard as it is, and you never, like I said, you never know what someone else is going through. So why not try to be kind? And I know that it's hard sometimes. Like I said, I have trouble with it too. I'm trying to remember that once I start to feel those negative emotions, whatever they are, or even if someone's just annoying to me, which happens a lot. I mean, some people are just pretty annoying. I try to be kind and compassionate. I'm trying to get better at it, and I think that's something we all should work on. I think that we all should try, and we're not perfect. And I think another thing that we have to remember too is to be kind to ourselves, to not beat ourselves up. We're human. We make mistakes. Shit happens. Um, but we're not bad people. As long as you're trying to better yourself, and as long as you're trying to be nice to one another, then you're not a bad person. And there's no reason for you to beat yourself up and think low of yourself and treat yourself like shit just because you're feeling bad about something. We all feel bad. I mean, and I do it too. I've struggled with depression for years, and I've found myself in some pretty low places where I have been very unkind to myself, and I've gotten better at it over the years. But sometimes it's hard. So I think that we have to practice that kindness. We have to practice that compassion every day in our lives. And it's work. I mean, it doesn't always come natural to people. We have to sort of, we have to think about it. We sort of have to stop ourselves and, maybe you have a reaction to something, emotionally, or something triggers you or whatever, and you kind of have to stop and say, okay, how is this making me feel? How can I react to it? How can I process this in a healthy way? And that's a daily thing. It's something that we have to deal with every single day, and it's not always easy, but I think kindness is very important. I think that there's just too much bullshit in this world, people treating each other like shit, too much hatred, too much discrimination, and and it's not, we can't change everyone, but we can change ourselves. So as long as we are putting that out into the world, it does make an impact. It may not seem like it sometimes, but it does. I would rather try to put kindness out into the world than put my anger and bitterness and what have you out into the world. I would rather influence the world in a positive way, and I try to. And I think that's something we all should do. Um, and another thing too regarding that, um, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Um, People fuck up all the time, and shit happens. And and also, like I said too, some people are just plain annoying. They get on your nerves, or whatever. And I think we also have to remember to forgive. We have to forgive people. You can't hold a grudge and let something eat you up. But also, the thing about kindness too is to remember that being kind to people doesn't mean that you let them walk all over you. It's about being genuinely kind, and it's not about being passive. Um, so um, so be kind, be true to yourself, and be kind, and but like I said, being kind does not necessarily mean being passive. You do have to stand up for yourself, and you do have to sometimes fight back. Not necessarily like having a physical altercation, but you have to stand up for yourself and stand up for what's right. Because if you don't, then no one else will. So you have to. So, but if you do so, which you will eventually, we all do, um, do it. Try to do it with kindness. Approach everything with kindness. Um, and even those people who get on your nerves, those people who piss you off. There's that expression, kill them with kindness. Some people are just plain angry and just nasty, and they're trying to get a reaction out of you. But instead of letting them get under your skin, um, turn it into kindness. And sometimes that pisses people off more. But you know what? That's their problem, not yours. You can't take on other people's bullshit, because you also have to be kind to yourself. So I think that as we go into winter, and as we deal with all the snow and ice and the craziness of the holiday season and everything else going on in the world, why don't we try to be kind to one another? And at least try to improve yourself in that way. Like I said, stop and think. Um, and when you find yourself in situations where someone has done you wrong, um, you should practice forgiveness. But I also think too that you need to stop and say, is this worth getting angry about? Is this worth letting myself get all worked up about? Because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you just have to let the small things roll off of you, and it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel everything. Um, and you know, and people are hurtful. Um, but but as long as I'm trying to better myself and bring kindness and love and compassion into the world, I think that that will make a difference. I think that that influences people, whether or not you see it. So that's my message to you this evening, and I hope it was beneficial to you. And I hope you go out and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. I love you. Have a good evening.